What's going on, everybody? RJ Ochoa here from SB Nation's bloggingtheboys.com. Hope all is well over you. We hope you're happy, safe, healthy, and that you're pumped because the Dallas Cowboys held a football practice today on Wednesday. Today is, in fact, Wednesday, July 27th, 2022. Welcome to today's edition of BTB Daily. In case you missed the announcement, in case you missed the first two episodes, we're doing this every single day. Every single weekday, we're going to have a live show discussing, recapping, assessing, analyzing, debating, arguing over different things happening in the world of the Dallas Cowboys. It'll be somewhere between 30 minutes, an hour. Who knows? Sometimes things require more conversation. Kind of a loosey, sort of situation. You and me hanging out, chopping it up, talking Cowboys. Diesel80, thank you for joining us. Says, sup, RJ, rocking with you, homie. Makes me feel good that you're here, Diesel. That's really what I'm looking for in life. JJ the Mime says, what's up, RJ? What's up, JJ? If you throw an R in front of those double J's, I'll appreciate it just a little bit more. But as mentioned, the Dallas Cowboys did hold their first training camp practice of 2022 on Wednesday. They also had some news, some roster news. We'll get to that as well. It's a significant thing. It's a light practice, obviously. It's shorts, it's t-shirts, it's helmets. It is football at its core, which is what matters most. But we have to be careful. We have to kind of slow roll the way we react to these things, and we'll of course be discussing them forever. That's our job at Blogging the Boys. BloggingTheBoys.com, your home for Dallas Cowboys content around the clock. The Blogging the Boys YouTube channel here. If you haven't yet, please do subscribe. Like I said, we have a daily show. We have other videos coming out, other live shows. So we certainly want to hang out with you if you can join any one of our live properties. The Blogging the Boys podcast network. We have a podcast network. You can search for us wherever you get your podcast, subscribe, leave a rating, write a review. We have two different shows that come out every single day in addition to a daily show over there as well. So we do not stop. We do not sleep. We love and are obsessed with the Dallas Cowboys the same way that you are, and we want to share in that passion with you. So let's go ahead and dive in. I've got my coffee. I hope you've got yours. JJ the Mime says, how did Dak do, bro? This was an interesting day, obviously, because Dak Prescott, unlike last year, not coming into training camp with the question, right? We were all wondering what the status was with Dak, with his ankle and whatnot. And I think, it was a success. Some people will argue that it wasn't for a very particular reason. And let's get to that. Anthony Brown, if you had him as the first defender to come away with an interception at training camp this year, congratulations to you. Anthony Brown did, in fact, record the first pick. Today, Wednesday, Anthony Brown not only had an interception, he had a pick six off of Dak Prescott. I know some people are going to freak out and going to bury Dak for that, going to say, oh my gosh, he's trash, blah, blah, blah. I'm going to show you the clip, courtesy of Mike Leslie from WFAA, but it might freak you out for a second because Anthony Brown, if you forgot, changed numbers this offseason. He's no longer number 30. He's now number 3. Here is the pick six that he had on Wednesday. Look, it's just a training camp interception out on the field in Oxnard, California. There's no reason to really read into this. But what I think this does, and look, you can't take anything away. We're not going to sit here and make any grand assessments or grand assumptions based on anything. But I do think that this at least forces us or makes it more sensible to have the conversation about Anthony Brown. Trayvon Diggs gets all the discussion, all the talk, all the credit, rightfully so. If you have 11 interceptions, you are the king of the kingdom, so to speak. But Anthony Brown turned in kind of an impressive 2021 as well. There were some people that were higher on him than most. I know that the Thanksgiving Day game did him no favors in the eyes of Cowboys fans everywhere, but Anthony Brown is a really serviceable, quality point and piece of depth that the Dallas Cowboys have. And so, again, that isn't proven just because he had this pick six today on Wednesday, but it is nice to see. JJ the Mime, though, says, right, they're going to try and crucify Dak for that pick, LOL. It's going to happen. People are going to throw interceptions, not just Dak Prescott. They're going to happen all over the NFL. Just kind of the way training camp goes. And, there's an old adage that defense has the advantage early on in training camp. Offense still trying to figure things out and whatnot. But whether you subscribe to that or not, I think it's a good thing to see Anthony Brown involved. But let's move on. Conor McGovern got the first reps at left guard. I think this is notable. I think this is significant because there's a lot of people who are going to roll their eyes. There's a lot of people who are going to say, why? Why are we doing this? Why are we wasting time with Conor McGovern? And to that I say, I agree with you. To that I say, I don't know. I think it's dumb and silly and cheesy to make a rookie earn the star, earn their stripes, earn their playing time, whatever. We all know none of us are dumb here, right? Those of you that are hanging out, Diesel Lady, JJ the Mime, Daniel Orlovsky, not that one, but Daniel Orlovsky, everyone who's here with us, whether live or after the fact, we all know that Tyler Smith is just starting left guard for the Dallas Cowboys in 2022. And I understand you don't want to like throw him in and overwhelm him right away. If that's your logic, I can kind of come away with it and agree a little bit. But if your whole thing is like, well, I mean, he's got to earn his stripes. It's just the NFL. We don't just hand out jobs. The Cowboys have already handed him the job, right? Like it's not an open competition. I know Conor McGovern got the first reps today on Wednesday, but does anybody really believe that this is a competition? Or I mean, so if this is all in the spirit of we want to take it easy with Tyler Smith, we want to ease him into life in the NFL. Okay, cool. I'll ride with that. But if it's about like making him earn it, his helmet doesn't have a star. It's just silly. But we do have a clip of that as well, courtesy of Michael Gehlken from the Dallas Morning News. It's a short clip. This is really not about Tyler Smith as far as I'm concerned. He's playing left guard in this clip, but look on the left side of your screen. You are going to see Micah Parsons coming in like out of nowhere, just the way that Micah Parsons tends to do. This is usually the case for plays like this. If this had been a real NFL game, Dak Prescott's getting sacked right there by Micah Parsons, obviously. And I think that was one of the bigger kind of takeaways from members of the local media who were there in Oxnard at the moment, that Micah Parsons was unstoppable. It's difficult to... It's so difficult not to let our imaginations run away from us, because on the one hand, there's the argument that, well, regression to the mean is coming from Micah Parsons, right? It's going to be very difficult for him to play at this high of a level a second year in a row. Maybe we've seen the peak of Micah Parsons just because he was that magnificent as a rookie, right? Like, that's one argument. The other argument is, hey, like, maybe he's just a freak. Maybe he's the exception. Maybe he's a unicorn. Maybe he is going to only continue to get better. And so it seems like, I think everything that we've seen to this point, and I don't mean just these few moments on Wednesday, but everything we've seen over the offseason, everything that Micah has said, the way he's acted, he has continually been kind of this dream of a pick. And so I'm willing to believe. I'm willing to trust that Micah Parsons is going to elevate his game even more so here in 2022 than I generally am players that have incredible rookie seasons or incredible first seasons on different teams. So that is good for Micah Parsons taking over things. A brief segue, kind of deviation from the training camp discussion. Some of you have been talking about this already in our comment section. The Dallas Cowboys, like I said, did announce a few roster moves on Wednesday morning, well ahead of their practice, and even before Mike McCarthy took to the podium for his daily press conference. Let's get that up there for you. Michael Gallup was placed on the physically unable to perform list, the PUP list, as many call it. That was not shocking. He was one of 4 players who the Dallas Cowboys placed on this list. Dontario Drummond, Quandre Mosley, and Aaron Hansford all placed on the PUP list as well. Rookie linebacker Damone Clark, we can talk about him in a moment if you'd like, was placed on the active NFI list. That NFI stands for non-football injury. We've written this for you here because it is important. We get a lot of questions about it every year. Players on the PUP list, at least at this point in time during training camp season, still do count towards the 90-man roster. So it's not like the Cowboys picked up some extra roster spots by doing this. They can be activated from the PUP list at any time. And if they stay on the PUP list through the regular season, or the regular season beginning, that is, then they have to be on there for at least 4 games. And you'll note in parentheses there, that is down from 6. It used to be 6 games that you missed if you started the season on the PUP list. That is a new change here for 2022. So we'll use Michael Gallup as an example. Just hypothetically, if the Cowboys were to leave him on the PUP list, he would have to miss the first 4 games of the season at minimum. Of course, he could obviously miss more than that. So we'll see how the Cowboys ultimately handle that. But again, as you guys noted in the comments, Jabril Cox, notably absent from the PUP list, was not part of the group that was placed there, which I thought was significant. On Wednesday morning, Mickey Spagnola had an article over at DallasCowboys.com and sort of speculated, sort of theorized that Jabril Cox would in fact wind up on the PUP list. So you have to wonder, maybe it was close, maybe it was this kind of last minute thing where he escaped it. So that is very good, very promising sign. Although when Mike McCarthy did hold his daily press conference, he did mention that they have to take it slow with Jabril Cox. He mentioned that there's going to be a rep count, a pitch count, if you will, and they're going to be very careful with exactly how they use him. So Definitely a great news day for Jabril Cox, but I don't want to say far from out of the woods because that implies that like we're in the woods. But it's a process. It's a process, and things kind of evolving. JJ the Mime says no Dak highlights. I just want to make sure my quarterback is feeling like himself again. LOL. We do have one for you. A really kind of minimal thing, but this is just part of the first day, right? First day of school type thing. Dak Prescott did connect with Jalen Tolbert for the first time, and the Athletics' Jon Machota caught it on video. The news of Michael Gallup being on the PUP list, I think, is significant because of the domino effect that it has, right? Much of the attention on Wednesday and much of the future attention at camp is going to be on CeeDee Lamb, right? And how he can establish himself and assimilate himself as the top receiver on the team, as the alpha, blah, blah, blah. We've had this conversation all off season long. But now that Michael Gallup, and not that it is, a shock by any means, but now that he is officially on the PUP list, coming back from that torn ACL that he suffered back in January, it officially at least opens up the door of opportunity for other players. And maybe not opportunity, but at least the door of exploration, the door of literal opportunity, in the sense that, okay, cool, Michael Gallup's not going to, we all think Michael Gallup's probably going to, miss some time into the regular season like we kind of talked about when we talked about the PUP list. And so it's really unlikely that Michael Gallup gets any sort of serious work, right? He was rehabbing on the field today on Wednesday, and that's notable. And I'm not here to cast doom and gloom on Michael Gallup. That's just part of the process, right? I mean, he's got to go through these things. When you're coming back from a torn ACL, it's just kind of the way it goes. But with Michael Gallup not in the fold offensively as the Cowboys are practicing and operating throughout training camp, it opens up the door of opportunity for a Jalen Tolbert and for a James Washington. There was a lot of discussion today about James Washington, which I thought was very, very weird. I was kind of surprised that James Washington exists. We haven't heard a peep. He was obviously injured throughout OTAs, so that was a little bit interesting. But what was very interesting, specifically, all the reports out of Oxnard, Dak Prescott was targeting James Washington deep. And I mean, the Cowboys lost Cedric Wilson, obviously, over this offseason, who's been a threat in many different ways. Michael Gallup is, I would argue, maybe the best deep threat. That, Dak Prescott has such a great connection with him on the deep ball. But if James Washington can truly be that, then, I mean, that is a new kind of element to this offense that, I mean, I'll open-ask this question. Who is the deep threat of these wide receivers? I don't know that I have an answer. I mean, I think some people would say it's maybe Jalen Tolbert. He's obviously very fast. But if James Washington can evolve into that, we've all petitioned for players like Will Fuller to be brought in to be this kind of deep threat. Well, again, it's just one training camp practice. It's the first training camp practice. But if the Cowboys view James Washington in that way, then we can at least start to kind of identify what his role might be in an exact sense, because to this point, it's been really unknown. And a huge reason for that, obviously, is all the time that he's missed. So it's been difficult to get a proper gauge on how Dallas sees, James Washington specifically. Diesel80 says, go get Will Fuller. Yeah, I don't think that's happening. The Cowboys have said they've been very firm in that they like their guys. But I could certainly see. I mean, I know we were all on some level. Maybe you weren't Diesel. Maybe you weren't somebody else. A little bit bummed to see Julio Jones wind up with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I don't believe that Julio or Will Fuller even or T.Y. Hilton or whoever are the players that they were at their peaks. But the Cowboys are in this situation where we don't know how we can trust or how much we can trust this depth, right? I mean, you consider the fact that Michael Gallup now officially on the PUP list. Okay, James Washington, the note here says the Cowboys, Dak Prescott targeting him deep after one play today on Wednesday, came up and got looked at by trainers. And not to make a mountain out of that molehill either, but James Washington has had difficulty seeing the field just to this point, and today is only the first day in training camp. And so the Cowboys clearly need some bodies, clearly need some help. And so obviously Cole Beasley had the tweet. We talked about that in the Daily on Tuesday, and I recognize that there are some opinions on Cole Beasley and certainly some political thoughts on Cole Beasley, but there's no question that Cole Beasley, T.Y. Hilton, Will Fuller, whoever, while I'm not advocating for them as great receivers in today's moment, there's no question that an addition of one of those players, by one of those players, from one of those players, significantly upgrades the overall quality of the Cowboys receiver room. And a lot of that is just because right now the Cowboys don't have a lot. It's one of the most kind of influx position groups that they have. They have CeeDee Lamb. We're very excited about him. They have Jalen Tolbert. We're extremely excited about the future that he offers. We're hopeful that Michael Gallup comes back sooner rather than later. But outside of that, I mean, we really really don't know a lot about this team, but let's see here. Making sure I'm not missing anything. Nothing crazy here. Let's see. Zeke Elliott after practice spoke and said, "I would say I was a little worried." Talking about his knee, I would say I was a little worried at the beginning of the offseason. Like, dang, this thing still feels a little iffy. But he says by the time he got into OTAs, he was back to 100%. That is kind of interesting that Zeke Elliott would admit to that. Hopefully the Cowboys have a plan. Whether your team Zeke or not, it does feel like a majority of Cowboys fans have kind of awoken to the fact that maybe a heavy dose of Zeke isn't in the best interest of this team. He can certainly be used to a great degree and in an effective way. But if Zeke has an iffy situation, hey, maybe use Tony Pollard. I don't know. Maybe use the other talented running back on your roster. I don't know. Those are the 2 cents that I'm going to offer here. Speaking of running backs, Rico Dowdle practiced for the first time since August of 2021. Obviously missed all of last season. The Cowboys, in the minute roster moves that they made in the last few weeks, they did release Jaquan Hardy. I know that Specs was somebody who a lot of people loved and a lot of people were fans of. But it does seem like the Cowboys have some level of belief and some level of confidence in Rico Dowdle. And I'm really actually, we're talking about the third running back on the team here, so it's not, the juiciest storyline, but I am interested to see just kind of how much of a priority he is when it comes to putting together their roster. They clearly believe in him. They've obviously held on to him this long, and he was injured last year, so that's part of the story, but this is a team that, since 2016 has really only used one running back and has really barely even carried 2 running backs at times. And so we know the Cowboys are going to carry 2 running backs at the very least in Zeke Elliott and Tony Pollard, but will they carry a third? They're going to need to go long in some other places. And so can Rico Dowdle really cement himself a spot on this 53-man roster, not just obviously throughout camp? That's interesting. It's an interesting kind of sub-storyline to all the big mega ones that are kind of percolating through the ether. Let's see here. Zeke expanding a little bit more said it took a month or 2 into the offseason before his knee felt healthy and that he never considered surgery. Okay. That's, hey, good, best of luck, Zeke. There's no question that Zeke is a warrior. None of us are going to sit here and deny that. Mike McCarthy, when he took the podium today on Wednesday, he said that Zeke is one of the rocks of their team. He attributed Zeke's attitude and disposition, that he's one of the first players in the building, and what he does before practice and after practice. He said Zeke's in the quarterback meetings and things like that. None of us are going to sit here and question that. Nobody has any ill will towards Zeke. It's just use other players on your team. Tanner, thank you for joining us, says really hope TP gets more touches somehow, whether in the backfield or in the slot. I hope so too, but we've screamed about this before and it hasn't happened, but maybe the wide receiver situation kind of forces that issue. I hope they don't view Tony Pollard the way a lot of people obviously have compared this wide receiver situation to that of 2018, the year that Dallas cut Des Bryant and they went at it with Deontay Thompson and Cole Beasley and Alan Hearns. Tavon Austin was in the mix. Remember when they called Tavon the web back and there was all that stuff. I don't know. Tony Pollard's incredibly talented. You have to find a way to get him the ball, and so if they don't, it would be a disgrace. It would be very, very unfortunate. But all right, last sip of coffee down. Let's move on here. Thank you for joining once again, Tanner. Let's see. Next on the list, on the subject of quotes, because Zeke's at the podium at this moment in time while we're on live. Tyron Smith after practice said, "This is the strongest I felt in a while." Incidentally, Mike McCarthy spoke on Wednesday about how he's gotten in really good shape. McCarthy looks good. And he said he's been doing a lot of boxing. It's very cool. Very happy for Mike McCarthy. Like I said, looks really, really good. And Tyron does look great. Tyler Smith looks great. Like this all looks great. And so Tyron Smith, I'm not trying to sit here and bag on him by any means. I would never, ever say anything negative about Tyron Smith, mostly because I would be deathly afraid to. But Tyron Smith saying this is the strongest I felt in a while. Tyron, we have never, ever questioned your strength. Nobody has a question whatsoever about your strength and the capability of it. What we have a question about is your durability, not your strength, not the actual physical force of your strength. And so, yeah, that's awesome. It's a great thing to hear, and I'm not just trying to take every single thing and be negative, but this is the beginning. I mean, if there's one thing that we can kind of count on to go wrong, it's Tyron Smith's health. He has not played a full season since 2015. He has not played a full season, Tyron Smith, since the Dallas Cowboys called Valley Ranch their home. So it's been a while. And look, I hope that, this is the beginning of something very positive. I hope he plays all 17 games and beyond. But it's day one, it's step one, and so you got to take it. You got to go through these processes, and hopefully, like I said, things turn out a little bit differently than they have over the last few years. Let's see here. Let's move on. Dorrance Armstrong batted down a pass, right? Okay, Dorrance Armstrong getting involved here. This is interesting. We talked about this on Monday. In ESPN's training camp preview for every single team, they had some predictions that each of their beat writers wrote. And so Todd Archer wrote this about the Cowboys, that Sam Williams would, by the end of training camp, be established as the starting defensive end opposite of DeMarcus Lawrence, which would obviously mean that he would leapfrog Dorrance Armstrong. That's a bold claim, right? That's kind of bold. I mean, it's not impossible by any means, and look, one batted pass. I feel stupid, right? Like we're not, nobody's sitting here and saying like, oh, boom, like, everything is decided because of this one thing, one way or the other. But this is good. It's good to see Dorrance Armstrong. He got paid. He got a new contract in the offseason. It's very good to see him involved. We know the Cowboys are big believers. We know Jerry Jones is a big believer. If you've listened to Jerry talk in any different way over the last few years, they are big believers. So it's nice to see. You want to see those splash plays. I think like that's what training camp is to me. You want to see some splashes and some splashes and flashes. I know that those words sound similar, but you want to see moments that you can feel good about. Obviously, you're not going to see something that just guarantees you anything because it's football, because it's life. Like there's such levels of unpredictability associated with everything going on here. But if you can get the splashes and the flashes from these players, and I think we got them in the right way. It was a very productive first day, I thought, in that department. Then I think that's you're doing everything that you can, and so. All told, as we kind of tie a bow on Wednesday's practice, the first training camp practice, and like I said, we'll be here every single day to recap everything going on in the world of the Dallas Cowboys. If you have not yet, please do subscribe here to the Blog of the Boys YouTube channel. If you watched any of our stuff or listened to any of our podcasts, or if you follow me on Twitter or anything like that, I thought that Tuesday was a really bad day for the Dallas Cowboys. It was a really awful day, and generally the worst days for the Dallas Cowboys are the days that no football is played and the team just talks. And that's why I think that it was rough. The opening press conference really did them no favors. And it was such an awful and awkward thing for Mike McCarthy to just be the center of the NFL world today. Good Morning Football did an entire segment about Jerry Jones kind of like openly teasing McCarthy's job status and stuff. And that's, you don't want that encircling your team. Whether you're a Mike McCarthy fan or not, I don't think you want that. And so Tuesday was a really rough day. But I think that Wednesday was about just football, getting to work. And when Mike McCarthy spoke, it was all about football and all about the plans. And, McCarthy mentioned, I thought this was very interesting in his press conference before practice today, that practice would be an hour and 23 minutes long specifically, like literally that literal, that it would be an hour and 23 minutes. It reminded me of Helga Pataki when she yells at Arnold when he's about to get in that fight. You know what I'm talking about? She's like 23 hours and, or she's like 21 hours and 16 minutes. Like those are the vibes it gave me. And so I don't think that Mike McCarthy gets enough credit. I've said that many different times for different things. And I think one of the things he doesn't get enough credit for is, like I said, today felt all about the football. Today felt just about this being a football team, them playing football, their jobs being football, and them doing football things. And because this is the Dallas Cowboys, that so often gets lost, right? We so often focus on the non-football things with this team because there are so many that, you kind of, the football tends to slip through the cracks. I thought Jamie Erdahl, like I said in the segment that Good Morning Football did today, I thought she had a great line in talking about what the Cowboys were. She said everybody has an opinion on this. It's this weird relationship where everybody has an opinion because it's the Dallas Cowboys. And that's kind of when things get awkward. And so today was just the McCarthy show. And that's why it felt sound, it felt right, it felt stable, and it felt like a really good and promising first step for training camp and for the weeks to come and hopefully for the season to come. And so McCarthy, I think, deserves a little bit more flowers than he tends to get. And if we can help give him some, then, I'd certainly like to do that. But notable day, like I said, roster decisions for the Cowboys, notably Michael Gallup heading to the PUP list, notably Jabril Cox not headed to the PUP list, and training camp happening. If you want to pick a winner and a loser from camp, I don't think there were any losers, but I do think it was a good day for Rico Dowdle. I think it was a good day for, Anthony Brown. Maybe it was a rough day for James Washington if you really want to stretch. But it was a good day. At the end of the day, the Dallas Cowboys did football things today, and for that, I'm very happy. I'm very happy that you took time out of your day to discuss and share them with me and with us here at Blogging the Boys. Like I said, we'll be here every single day throughout the season, discussing, reacting to, analyzing, arguing, debating, whatever is happening in the world of America's team. We love the Dallas Cowboys. You love the Dallas Cowboys. We're so privileged that you choose to spend some of your time with us. We know the most precious thing in the world is time, so we want to make it worth your while. My name is RJ Ochoa. You can follow me on Twitter or Instagram at RJ Ochoa, on TikTok at RJ.Ochoa. If you want to shoot me an email, you can, rj.ochoa@sbnation.com, or you can leave a comment down below, and we'll get to those also. Let's do it again tomorrow. Same time, same place. You and me. I'll bring the coffee, you bring the cookies. Cool. Thanks for hanging out, everybody. We'll see you next time.